Welcome to the Panasonic studio at the Toronto International Film Festival. Burning Man takes us on an emotional journey of love and loss, and I'm very pleased to welcome its star, Matthew Goode. Welcome.
Pleasure, honestly.
I just saw the screening of the film, and your character Tom goes through so many emotional ups and downs. How did you possibly prepare for such an intense yet beautiful role?
Well, I mean, I think a lot has been said because it's quite a fractured narrative. So it sort of jumps all over the place, but luckily that's sort of what filming's like anyway. You know, you never really get to do it in a linear way. But I don't know, it was quite worrying. Really. I'd never had to sort of literally expose myself in quite as many ways as I have to in this film. And but I had a really great director, and some of it's partly based on his life, so I knew that he would always be there for me if I needed to, you know, certainly for all the bereavement stuff. But there's also an element of where you do your homework and then you just try and get out of your own way and, you know, you take it day by day. But some days were harder than others.
Now, how does your character, Tom, deal with grief? I was talking a bit about with the director that there's a bit of sexual element with dealing with his grief.
Yeah, I mean, his behaviour is quite erratic and quite tangential anyway, and he's sort of a mercurial father, you know. And in some sense, his likability factor in the first 20 minutes of the film is we're very questionable about him. But yeah, he's going through what he's going through, and not to give too much away. And he deals with that in, like most people would do, in a sort of escapist way. But even though the sex is an important part of it, because as you'll know from seeing the film, there's an element of he can't let go of his wife.
So here's the thing, Tom. I barely know you, but I suspect that you're nowhere near ready to confront what it is that you're dealing with at the moment. And your interest in seeing me is, shall we say, less than therapeutic?
Are you suggesting that there's some sort of an attraction going on here?
Yeah.
And speaking of his family, his son...
Speaking of my son, wasn't he good looking, by the way?
Who is he?
He's got a guy called Jack Henley, and he's about 10 years old, about 5 foot, I think, or maybe smaller. He's lovely. I mean, like, how lucky, because he's stunning in this film.
And how does your character, Tom, he needs his son to sort of bring him around out of his sorrow?
Yeah, he's the sort of balancer. Once he sort of realises, you know, after he goes to the sort of concert with his son, you know, you realise he stops hanging on to the past, and he realises that, you know, that he has to get on with the rest of his life. And so it's basically an amazing love story, or love stories. One is very much in the past, and the future is his son. And it's kind of, it all comes together neatly for something which doesn't make a lot of sense for a lot of the way through. Suddenly, but by the time it comes around to the end, it's like, it's very positive.
Well, it was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, pleasure. Don't be silly.
Remember to follow us on Twitter at Red Carpet Diary, or like us on Facebook for the latest updates on our interviews in the Panasonic studio at the Toronto International Film Festival.